Good evening. My name is Dan Perlman, and I am a director of the online Better Investing chapter. We welcome both members and non-members of Better Investing. And in just a second, I will have control of the screen. Our speaker tonight is a man named Byron Wolfe. I'll say a little bit more about him in just a minute. And I want to say a little bit about the online chapter. By now, many of you do know about the online chapter, but it is a little bit unique compared to most chapters of Better Investing. This chapter is not geographically defined like the typical chapter. Most chapters are based in a particular city or state, or at least region. It is Better Investing's largest chapter. It's a chapter so that everyone in Better Investing has a chapter. There was a time when many members of Better Investing were not part of a chapter. Has approximately 3,000 members, and it does have programs and functions very much like regular chapters. So we put on educational events such as this, and we have committees and so on and so forth. We have a website that we hope you will visit, the online chapter website, as well as, of course, the National Better Investing website, which has many, many resources that we think are beneficial for Better Investing's members. The online chapter does have some unique features. The first one is that since we are so geographically dispersed, and we have even international members, we operate totally online. And another feature of the Better online chapter is that we have satellites. In other words, we have teams of people in different communities who are not at the level of activity of a chapter, but provide local contacts and can provide local activities for the members in that geographical region. And so there's the advantage of having people who can help in a given area and not quite so much of the kind of bureaucratic kind of work that's necessary for a chapter to engage in. So it's a good arrangement, I think, for everybody. And we do have educational workshops every month. We usually have a speaker, and they usually lead things off. But part of the idea that we had is there are now many webinars that are available in Better Investing, and we wanted a event that was a little more interactive and that everybody who comes can feel like they can ask a question, comment, and so on. I do have to say a disclaimer in this, which is that Better Investing is a nonprofit educational organization. It's registered with the nonprofit organizations in the United States. So we're not here to recommend the purchase or sale of any of the things that we talk about. We're here to help you become a better investor. And if you hear ideas that are attractive to you, what you should do, and what we would like you to do, is conduct your own review and analysis of the company or the product before making an investment decision. So there might be things that someone would hold in their own portfolio, but still, we are held to a strict code of conduct, which prevents us from advocating purchases or sales of those equities or products. So during this webinar, we ask you to turn off your mic, but if you want to speak, you can raise your hand. If you go over to the left of the screen, there's a thing that says more, and if you click on that, there's a place where it goes down to reactions, and one of the last reactions is a raised hand. You could also put questions in the chat if you wanted to, or comments in the chat. Also, I would mention that you can close caption this event, and what you do again is you go to the more part of the lower right-hand side of the screen, and you'll see caption. You accept the default and then click on captions and it will work for you. And finally, I want to say that the slides and the recording of this webinar will be archived on the OLC website in approximately 2 days, at the end of the week or possibly over the weekend, but it will be put up at that time. And I'm very glad to see several names here that I know. What I am looking for is a speaker who just before the meeting was not here. And I will ask if Byron Wolfe is here. We did send him messages today, and I sent him a message just recently, and I do not see.
I forwarded him the email as well with the link, but I haven't heard anything back.
Okay. Well, I am obviously hoping that he comes, and I'm going to ask for the committee, Jane and Bob, for us to all kind of chip in and figure out. I think one thing we could do is we could just open the floor for anybody. You can all keep your mics open at this point. And are there some questions or comments that you would like to ask? Anything that you would like to say? I think one of the things that we might just sort of kick off about is that we are going to have the OLC annual meeting, and it is the first Monday in August. So that is when it's going to be. Doug Gerlach is going to talk on a topic that is really very interesting to me. And the title is basically to the effect that it's maybe stocks that you're not quite sure what to do with and how to think about those kinds of stocks. So that is one of the things that I would call to people's attention. Does anybody want to say anything more about the meeting, the annual meeting, which there will be a short half-hour meeting of the OLC, its business meeting, annual business meeting, elections, acknowledgement of the people who had the outstanding portfolios. One of whom is, I believe, on this meeting tonight. And then we will go into the educational webinar. Does anybody want to say anything more about the annual meeting?
I just add that Doug is always, haven't heard him personally. He always is a favorite of his audience, and always gives a really good talk.
I agree. He's very knowledgeable. He is one of the people who is running Manifest Investing, if you're familiar with that, and My iClub. So he's really full-time involved in better investing. It's his career at this point.
I think you meant to say iClub, not Manifest.
Okay, My iClub. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I threw a question in the chat to see if anybody in the audience has traded cryptocurrency yet. Or does everybody just have initial questions as far as anything surrounding the topic? That we have at least one person that has.
And what has been your experience? And can you say just a little bit about sort of the basics of doing it?
Hello.
There you go.
Hey, I'm Daniel, one of the employees over at Better Investing. Yeah, so my experience with cryptocurrency, not as like a retirement plan or like a full-time investment, but just as a speculative investment. And I'm interested in the underlying technology of it, which is what spurred me to get involved in it back in 2012. It's pretty straightforward. When the big crypto boom was going on in 2018, 19, 2021, during COVID and all that stuff, all these cryptocurrency exchanges popped up, and it was very simple to do KYC, which was know your customer. So they would request that you upload your driver's license and then take a selfie with your webcam or your cell phone and send that along with your driver's license, and then all of your personal information, where you live, all these different things. So the US law requires all of that in order to do cryptocurrency trading, or registering on an exchange where you can take money from a US bank and put it into an exchange that would be converted into cryptocurrency. So went through all those steps on several different crypto exchanges. They were poor as far as support goes. There was, you submit a support ticket if you're having an issue, and most of the time you wouldn't get a reply back. So there was always that. Luckily, most of them worked. You follow all the steps and do everything right, and you get approved within a couple of days to be able to start transferring United States currency into their system. And then once it's in there, you can do initial purchases of whatever your base currency crypto is that you want to purchase, like Bitcoin or Ethereum or whichever. And then once you've purchased the crypto, you could then do what you want with it, sell it, trade it for a different crypto, or you could send it to a wallet, a hot wallet or a cold wallet, meaning that it's offline.
I know I've noticed personally in the last couple of years that well, I understand it's highly unregulated as of yet with the US, but I know that when you do your personal taxes, they're asking if you have traded any or hold any cryptocurrency, I believe.
I was curious to know what people think, that a lot of big brokerage companies now are going to start to, they're applying for ETF filings for crypto trading. And I think that's probably going to democratize a lot of the interest in crypto. The average person is going to be able to buy it with a lot less problems, buy it like a stock, like an ETF trades. So does anybody have any thoughts about that?
I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
Well, I think there's less mystery about it. People are very familiar with ETFs, and I think that a lot of things that have come to light with a lot of these unscrupulous characters involved in crypto trading, like Sam Bankman-Fried, maybe puts a bad light on crypto.
Right.
But it has its merits. Maybe this will make it a little more transparent.
I'd be curious to hear those merits, because if you're going to compare cryptocurrency to an ETF, I mean, it depends on the ETF, but I mean, as I understand, the cryptocurrency is a heck of a lot more volatile, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. But if I wanted to buy crypto in any way, whether it's a Bitcoin or anything, I wouldn't know where to start, but I sure would know where to start with an ETF.
Right. Yep, I would agree.
But if a company like JP Morgan gets involved, I think I would feel a little more confident that it was on the up and up. It wasn't a swindler involved.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's a similar process to trading options, but you have to get rated for them before you can actually trade them. And okay, Daniel, you want to make a comment?
Daniel Ellen,
Yes. Can you hear me?
yes.
In regards to the question that you had or made about the tax implications for the crypto as an unregistered securities, I started out just mining it with my CPU back in 2012. But once I started putting United States dollars in and investing it and stuff, there are several websites out there that work hand in hand with all these crypto exchanges in being able to facilitate tax reporting on all of the trades that you do. So if you're trading options, or you're just doing purchases, or you're swapping between different cryptocurrencies, they track most of the United States exchanges, or exchanges that have an offering in the United States. Some of them are outside the US and don't allow US citizens to register for an account with them because they don't want to adhere to the regulations. But it's very straightforward and very easy. You do have to pay, just like you would a CPA for their services. You pay for annual access, and you add whatever wallet addresses you have, or whatever exchange logins you have. You can set them up so it syncs your tax account to the exchange, and it pulls off all your trades throughout the year, buys, sells, swaps, and everything. And so you can accurately report, and then it fills all that information out into the correct tax form that the IRS requires. And then you just print it off or forward it to your CPA, and they take care of it.
I'm very pleased to announce that Byron has arrived, and I will just say a little bit about him, and then we can turn the mic over to him. Byron, we're very pleased you're here, and we did have just a little chat about people's experiences with crypto while we were getting going. Byron is CFO of an organization with the initials AF. Basically, he is an accountant and a managerial consultant. He works with, I get a little bit of a chuckle about this, small businesses. His definition of small businesses, which he'll tell you about maybe, is the legal definition, which means, if I remember correctly, just 43 million revenue a year that they can have up to. He's a very inspiring speaker. One of the things for me that has really been impressed when I've listened to him is that he talks about the importance of responsibilities and so on in organizations. And I think one of the things that he helps people to do is to realize they shouldn't do everything, that they should delegate. And the result of this is that the leadership of businesses can have a little more time to themselves and perform for the organization probably even better. I'm giving you my take on it. And the other thing that's really impressed me is that I think that he comes from a position of communitarianism, where I think that he sees businesses as wanting to make people have meaningful work, meaningful activities, and do good for the business, but that profit is not the only thing, that what isn't, and I'll let him pick up on this, but that, having a beneficial effect in a community. One of the things that he does as a charitable kind of activity is he has a what if site, which helps people who are not coming for him to him for paid consulting to understand how to set up a business and get going. So with that, I will turn things over to Byron, and I'm very eager to listen to him. He did a very nice interview with Chris, who is the chair of this committee, and he has done several podcasts and other kinds of videos. He does have a video, a website where you can see his organization and also some of his presentations. So I turn things over to Byron.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. We are experiencing rolling blackouts in Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm at currently. So I apologize for being on the phone, not on a regular computer. Hopefully the sound is decent. For that, I missed most of the intro there, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions, talk about anything you guys would like me to discuss. Is there a specific topic that beneficial, Dan, or how would you like me to proceed? You're muted, Dan, just so you know.
We would welcome you talking for a little bit, and then we could go from there. In listening to some of your previous talks, we were talking about crypto, and we know that I should have said that Byron is certified multiply, but one of the ways in which he's certified is in crypto, so certainly crypto. You've talked about things like the importance of revenue, cash flow, profits. You talk about taxation. You've talked about things like what leads to a good business. we're a little more interested in what makes for a good stock, but I suspect that some of these topics that you've been talking about, just more generally, have definitely got things that we might, as equity investors, want to think about as things that, you know, are good for considering the kinds of things that we might invest in. Even, and I guess I don't really know. I guess one of the questions that I would sort of toss in right here is the question of, are any of the companies that you consult with really, at least on the over-the-counter trading or on a regular stock market?
Yeah, so I usually deal with the mid-size. They're generally investment or funds, things of that nature. Those are generally the ones I stick with. So based off of that, there's two areas that I would love to bring attention to. You guys may already be aware of this, but BlackRock got approved for a Bitcoin ETF over the weekend, which is pretty big news. There's multiple companies that have tried to get approved for that Bitcoin ETF and have been denied. The fact that they were approved for that and the first ones in, and being a large company. And I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on BlackRock, but they're very large, and having that behind them, I think it's going to be a big deal. They will be hosting that on Coinbase. That's the unofficial word. I don't think it's, necessarily a secret or anything like that. It just hasn't been confirmed, but, I think everybody is completely aware that that's where it's going to be. That's where everything is pointing to. So them having the first ETF for Bitcoin is going to be a big deal. I think we'll see Coinbase will probably have some positivity from that. Obviously, BlackRock will, Bitcoin will. Another big thing in the news, if you watch the stuff for Bitcoin, XRP was in a really bad SEC battle for Ripple, the company was, and they were in this battle for their cryptocurrency XRP, which is a replacement for SWIFT. So if you're familiar with the banking system, SWIFT is the primary transfer of monetary. If you wire money, SWIFT is the way it happens. It's been around for a long, long time, pretty antiquated. So XRP winning that lawsuit with the SEC or settling that lawsuit is a big deal, big price shot. XRP, I had significant, advancement in my portfolio with XRP and with Ripple. So that was a good thing. I think that's going to continue to go up. Again, not financial advice, just, my opinion as somebody that's knows that area fairly well. I think those are two big things that are in the pipeline. So if you're wanting to avoid crypto for its volatility, the Bitcoin ETF, I think, would be a good one. If you are going to get into crypto trading, crypto holding, any of that, it works very similar to handling your stock portfolio, anything else. You want to make sure that you have that LLC set aside, that you are you're doing your trading as a trader. So you want to try to keep that professional aspect. Otherwise, the taxation of crypto can be pretty brutal. But if you set it up correctly and you're doing it under the guise of trading, there's some tax benefits in that structure. Even more if you're putting it through a trust or say like a Roth IRA or anything of that nature. Definitely some huge advantages there. So, knowing you guys are into investing and things of that nature, I think those are great areas to get into. We've seen some attempts to tokenize some credits. So there's a big push right now to tokenize like solar credits, battery credits, things of that nature. And so, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the IRA Act of 22, which allowed people to exchange those solar credits or those energy credits. And so I do believe that there will be a significant market that's going to open up, for those credits, and I think people will be able to make a significant amount of money in that space. So, anyways, that's kind of a 30,000 foot view of a couple of topics that have been in the news lately, or that have a relation to crypto. So hopefully that helps. And if you're not familiar with any of those, then those are definitely things to look into. If you're super familiar and I just gave you really boring information you're already aware of, I apologize for that. But happy to get into to more of those.
Hi, Byron. This is Phil. I'm part of the committee.
Hey, Phil.
I had asked just to gauge the audience, how many people knew anything about crypto, and there was one person in the audience that said he had traded crypto.
Nice.
But I'm getting the feeling that most of us know very little other than what we basically see in the news.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think if you're, it's like anything else, if you're going to invest in it, you want to have an understanding of it. And so I tell people all the time, like, I get it, crypto's new and there's some big upsides, but like anything else, you really want to have a good understanding of what you're looking at. And so with stocks, we can look at the company, we can look at the financials. There's a lot of data out there to look at it and understand it and make predictions. With crypto, they generally do these things called, white papers, and that outlines kind of what their purpose is, what they're hoping to do with it, what the outlook appears to be. So this can be good market research. If you know the underlying company that has put the crypto out, put the token out, that can be very, very helpful. Again, using my example of Ripple and XRP, Ripple is a company, XRP is the token, or the crypto. And so the XRP has a function of exchanging, monetary, so replacing SWIFT, so to speak. Ripple, the company, is who put it out. Great, management in Ripple. In fact, a lot of people through this process of Ripple going through this lawsuit, some of those executives, some of those main people have moved on to bigger projects. And so I always feel like a company that is getting poached for its employees by bigger companies is generally a good indication that there's a good solid team behind it. You don't want them all to leave, obviously, because you want it to continue to be good. But that to me is a good indicator. And, so the people that are involved in projects is probably a much bigger impact for crypto than it is for stocks or businesses that own stock. But it's definitely a big indicator of the value and the potential that exists within that crypto. So I'll try to relate it to stocks because I feel like there's probably much more knowledge in the stock market here than even I have, right? So if I can relate it back that way, that may make it a little easier to understand when we're talking about the crypto space.
Yep. Yeah, I think you've got a fair representation, and most people in Better Investing have done stocks, either they're newbies or have done it for a number of years. I don't know how you want to proceed, if you had any kind of prepared presentation, or you just wanted to take questions.
Yeah, well, I did, and it's on my computer. And like I said, we're at a blackout, so I've got no power at the house at all. Again, apologize for being on my phone, but yeah, I don't have anything to pull up. Unfortunately, stuck on my phone. I'm usually in my office with my multiple screens, like a good trader has, and I have all my information, but I have no access to anything. So I am completely off the cuff here. So yeah, I'd love to take questions or give insight or anything like that, if that's helpful.
No worries, Byron. One of the things we would like is anybody has, I think there are a couple of questions in the chat group already.
I was just going to get to those. I
Yeah,
was going to say one option, if you want, Byron, if you wanted to email me the presentation, I can present from here, if that would help. Or we can just.
he has no power. He cannot.
Or we can just.
Yeah, I got no access, unfortunately. I mean, I can definitely send it, and if it's something that would be beneficial to people to have, after the call, I can send it over. But it's mostly just notes and some things that I think would be beneficial to anybody that's thinking about getting into investing in the crypto space. And I can remember some of it, but yeah, it really has more to do with, kind of dipping your toes in, protecting what you have. Don't invest in the, what they call the meme coins or kind of these ones that are on the peripheral. You want to stick with the main cryptos, the cryptos that you have at least an understanding of the underlying value, that to me is very important. I had something popped up there for a question. I didn't catch it fast enough. But it's very important to avoid the ones that are kind of on the peripheral. If you're unfamiliar with some of the terms in the industry, rug pull is one that is used very often. What a rug pull means is that with people will build up the value in a crypto because they're trying to get their value way up. So there's a lot of chatter on, say, Discord and some of the other social media platforms. They try to build up the value significantly for the crypto, and then once they built up that value, they pull their investment out of it. So the people that kind of started it or were in there early, they pull all their value. That crypto plummets, and the people that kind of bought in later or kind of mid-range, they get kind of stuck with no upside. Generally lose a lot of value. So it's called a rug pull. Which a lot of the things that are not allowed in stocks are still somewhat allowed in crypto. So I'm sure everybody is very familiar with, there was a law passed that didn't allow you to essentially wash the wash rule. So you could sell stocks to take the loss at the end of the year, and you could buy them back immediately to reduce your basis and take that loss. Can't do that with stocks anymore, but you can still do that with crypto. I think that they will change that, but that does currently exist. You can still take advantage of the wash rule. They're following in the footsteps, but there's a lot of regulation and oversight that has not occurred in the crypto space. It definitely is the wild, wild west. So the protections that exist for stocks and bonds and things of that nature, not as prevalent in the crypto space. So I would highly encourage anybody who's wanting to get in to just be careful, know what you're investing in. Obviously don't invest money that you don't have to lose, and be as careful as you can when it comes to those investments.
All right, so I'll work through a couple of questions we've got in, and maybe we can go around with these. One member or one person in the audience said that they keep getting emails stating the government is going to get rid of the dollar and turn to digital dollars, thereby controlling your money. And I know I've heard some of the countries around the world have looked into and or done this. Did you have any comments on that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's always the rumor mill that's going to occur. I've seen multiple articles and things put out that the government is going to create their own digital currency. I do believe that the government will create its own digital currency at some point. I don't think that they will replace everything else with their own digital currency. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I just find it unlikely. And like anything else, scary news tends to sell. And so I think a lot of those emails are just trying to freak people out and convince them that it's time to move over to whatever the platform is, or invest in whatever that comes behind it. So if any of those emails come with a, hey, we've got your solution, and it's all you got to do is invest with us, and or buy this coin, and this is going to protect you, or anything like that, I would just say take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean, there are some. When we have Bitcoin City that exists. It's a whole city that all they do is transact in Bitcoin. So there's definitely some areas where that is possible, and the government creating their own crypto is definitely a possibility. There was a process, and this is kind of rumor, but it's pretty substantiated, where they attempted to recreate XRP as a payment process, or a payment solution, and they were unable to. And that was something that was supposedly, again, rumor mill, but pretty well documented, that the U.S. government tried to recreate it, was not able to. So I would be concerned with any payment system that was created, or any digital currency, or anything of that nature that was created by the U.S. government and then forced on us to use. I don't think that would happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I just think it's extremely unlikely.
Christian asked, and I'm assuming these are two types of crypto, but did you have any thoughts about Solana or Polkadot?
Yeah, so Solana, or Sol, I was pretty heavy into Sol for a long period of time. It seemed to be the alternative for NFTs. So NFTs, non-fungible tokens, they are used for a number of things. They show value. They are can be used for artwork, things of that nature. They work for like music. So they show that you are the one and only owner of whatever that item is. Non-fungible meaning you can't recreate it. And so that was Ethereum, which is another big crypto. It's kind of right behind Bitcoin, but it's definitely in the top 5, was the platform for that. And so the NFT transfers became really expensive to do. And so, it costs a lot of ETH. And so Solano or Sol came out and made it where people could transact in these NFTs on their platform, significantly cheaper price point. And so that was one of the ways that they had set themselves aside, in the markets. And so, I'm still somewhat of a fan of Sol. I can't say that it's going to do what we were hoping it was going to do. So, I still hold some Sol, but I don't think that we're going to see the big upsides in the crypto summer that's coming. So when they talk about crypto, again, kind of like stocks, there's like crypto winter where all the prices go down. You don't really see a lot of profits in those spaces. It can, it can be frustrating because you're not doing well in your portfolio. And then of course, crypto summer, things, you get bright and sunny and everything's great and everybody's making money. And we're definitely seeing indicators that point to that. We saw XRP as more than doubled in value in the last week. Bitcoin seeing a huge price appreciation, which is great. Ethereum, some of the other ones have done as well. But Sol has not followed that path. It hasn't seen the increase that it has, and I think that's due to some of the utility that we're expecting to see out of Sol has not occurred, and the people that are on that project have not done what they essentially had said they were going to do in that space. So that's kind of my opinion on Sol. I don't know if there was like a specific question about it, or if they were just asking for my opinion. Oh, and Polkadot. So Polkadot is good as well. It was considered kind of a secondary for a long time, but it's coming up significantly, doing well. The utility is good. So it's one of the ones that's on the faster rising. That's outside of our what we'd consider meme coins or junk coins, things of that nature.
Okay. Jane had the question, can you talk to how trading crypto is similar or different from trading regular currency?
Yeah, so much more volatile, crypto for sure. If you're into like the monetary markets, and I'm assuming you're trying to get the arbitrage of the exchange. So the exchange between a euro and the US dollar or anything else like you're not going to see as big of a jump in those. So when you exchange crypto for crypto, again, if you're not doing it as an investor or under that platform, that's a taxable event. Currently, I think that will change, but right now it is a taxable event. So that can be a bad thing to do if you're in and out of those stocks, or if you're just exchanging stocks. Like as a trader, you can do that. You're not going to get hit with those gains as much as you will with the crypto, because they treat every transaction essentially as a taxable transaction. So the difference between the two is crypto definitely has a much bigger highs and much bigger lows. There's not really a market for for that arbitrage. So if you're just looking for the difference in what this platform has it for sale for, what this platform has it for sale for, you're not going to see that as much because those transactions are much faster. So even though they've corrected the exchange, the monetary exchange, the arbitrage isn't as great as it used to be. You can still use an algorithm and essentially AI to make some money in that space. Very, very difficult to do that in crypto. Higher transaction fees, and really the spread of information is much, much faster than it's ever been because of the system that we're moving into in the crypto.
Daniel had the question, in the long run, do you see the USA CBDC replacing all the crypto in the US via legislation?
I personally do not. So I don't think that we're going to be able to, I don't think the US government would do that. I don't think that that's the intention. The crypto space is a global space. It's not going to be, held by borders. And I think that it would just be a battle that I just don't think that they could make happen. We're already even seeing it. There's countries that try to suppress the public information and the outside influence of the world, and you can't even do that anymore. Like, there's still tons of information that flows into China and North Korea, flows out, even though they technically have a blackout on that stuff. So trying to say, hey, we're going to take it over and we're going to have ours, and this is the only one that can be used, I just don't think it's likely. That would, I akin that to Visa saying, hey, we're going to do all of the processing. We're going to eliminate Discover and Amex and MasterCard. It's just extremely unlikely. But who knows? Like, the government has done crazier things in the past, so who knows? They may try that. I just think it's extremely unlikely that they would be able to do that.
Well, and I had heard Congress is trying in a rush to come up to speed with understanding this, because the vast majority that I heard the news reported don't really have a good feel for this. So they're trying to educate themselves as they create legislation and regulation for this as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that I would be against regulation as a fan of crypto, but I'm actually really for it. I think that there's too many people that are taking advantage of the misinformation and the lack of information that's out there, and I would love to see more legislation and regulation in the crypto space. I just hope that it's intelligent, and that the people that are doing that legislation and registration regulation are aware of what's going on and what the market looks like and what the reality of crypto is. Because I think if you lead with intelligence and an understanding and knowledge of the space, I think that we can really create a regulation that makes sense for crypto.
Right. Bobby had said, again, I think a lot of us don't really have a whole lot of experience within crypto. So he had asked the question, if you're able to, can you give a basic history of crypto as far as who invented crypto, for what purpose? Does it have any intrinsic value? Does the value depend solely on the supply and the demand? And how much is available? And is the supply limited?
Yeah, so I'm going to work backwards, because I think one of the things that's not as well understood. So Bitcoin itself being kind of the first, is limited supply. So there's only 21 million Bitcoin, ever. So the process of Bitcoin is it's mined using these extremely complex mathematical equations that are done to create that. And so there's, they put this out, then it's confirmed, and then that's how we validate. And so 19 million have been mined out of that 21 million. So there is definitely a limit to the amount of Bitcoin that will be made available, which is a big part of why the value has gone up. So when you think about it in terms of, say, Berkshire Hathaway, so Berkshire Hathaway, clearly one of the most expensive stocks out there, and they have not done what a lot of other stocks do with the halving and and the splits and things of that nature. They've kept their value, and that value is very high. So it's hard to get into those. The big difference between that, say, and like Bitcoin, is you can buy a percentage or a small decimal of Bitcoin. Whereas like with Berkshire Hathaway, if you want to go actually own it, the price is what it is, right? To buy one share. So you can buy a piece of a Bitcoin. but it's very limited. There's only so much. They're not going to produce anymore. You know, they've already shut that down, so there won't be any more you know, Bitcoin after those 21 million. Satoshi Nakamoto is given the credit for Bitcoin for creating that, and there's been a lot of people that have come in behind and they tried to reproduce it or manipulate that system. It hasn't been done. I don't think it will be done. I think that's, you know, that's pretty solid in that space. So there is limited. Some of the coins don't have limits. They can continue producing them. So you have to be careful about that. So the value, the intrinsic value is kind of the underlying project that exists. Like, what are they raising their money for? So very similar, like when you invest in the stock market, if a company puts out stock, they're doing that to raise capital, to hopefully expand their operations and do a better job to make more money and make the company worth more money. You know, obviously there is the possibility that they're just raising money to collect it all and take it to the Bahamas, but you know, hopefully it has purpose. So the cryptos that are being produced and they're putting out these coins for purchase is to increase the value of that, say, call it that company. Sometimes it's a DAO or whatever it is, to increase that, and they're going to use that to increase the utility, increase the basis of what they're doing. So in that aspect, it is kind of similar to stocks, but you have to pay attention to the stock. Some of them can continue to produce more. Some of them are limited, and they're, you know, however much is out, and there's not going to be any more. So you have to really understand, you know, the purpose of the stock and what's on it. So the basic history, you know, crypto has not been around that long. You know, I think it was in the 80s that, you know, that we really started having something akin to crypto, eCash, or I can't remember exactly what it was called, but, you know, basically digital cash that was created, and then that it kind of took off after that. So, you know, if you were smart enough to hop in the, you know, in the 90s or the 2000s, you know, when even Bitcoin was pennies, you know, you're probably a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire at this point. But, you know, it was a long time coming to get to the point we're at, and just, yeah, you know, in the last, I guess, probably 5 years, 10 years, as it hit mainstream market. So I do believe there's still a lot of upside on these coins. I do think that a lot of them will fall out, kind of coming back to an earlier question, you know, is the crypto going to kind of take the place of cash or take over as a monetary instrument? I think it will be one of them, but I think we'll have a ton of these cryptos are going to just fall on their face and go away over time. I think when it's all said and done, you know, I think we'll have, you know, maybe, you know, 10 or 20 that are left standing, and there's, you know, thousands right now. There's so many crypto coins you can purchase, and I think most of those are just going to kind of fall away as we, you know, move towards some validity and some regulation in the market and some standards in the market.
So that was one of my questions. I had heard different names and that kind of thing, but there's over 1,000 different types of crypto.
Yeah, oh, there's thousands,
Wow.
you know,
Okay.
plural. Yeah. So there's, you know, and they pop up a lot. Again, you know, most of the really new ones are, I don't want to say most of them are created to do like a rug pull, like I explained, but it's super common. You know, they'll get into these projects and they'll create it, and it's, you know, I don't want to call it a scam because I don't know 100% what the purpose of them is, but that's what happens. You know, they create it, and then, you know, it gets pumped up in value, and then generally the initial people that are involved pull their money out, and people are just kind of left holding the bag, and that's a really bad thing. And so we see a ton of them out there. There's some that they get started, they have good purpose, they get kind of you know, a little bit more mainstream, or at least they're, you know, they come out of the kind of the sub Reddits that, you know, they make it to some of the bigger platforms. And, you know, like Discord is a big one. If you want to do research on crypto, Discord is a social media platform, you know, similar to Reddit, and you know, and Twitter is also a great source for information on crypto. But, you know, when they make it to that level, generally there's a lot more looked into. So the lights are kind of turned on, and that's generally where, if they are something worth investing in, or they have some true value or good purpose or good utility, that comes out. And if they don't, then they generally get, they get cut, and they get eliminated.
So more of a fundamental question, and we're talking about different types of crypto, but for those of us that barely know anything about it, how or where do you trade it? Can you do it on an E-Trade or an Ameritrade or a Schwab or a Merrill Lynch, kind of broker, or how do you have to have a special type of account at one of these crypto brokers?
Yeah, so I use the crypto platforms for it. I would be really surprised if they don't come out with some platform, because even like Cash App and Venmo and a lot of these cash transfers are now dabbling in cryptocurrency. So depending on the exchange, there's going to be certain crypto coins that are available and some that are not. So I do believe that some of the big boys, Merrill Lynch, TD, and the rest of these, I think they're going to get into it, but I think they're going to be very limited on the cryptos that they will exchange, because they want to be careful with what they're doing, and I understand that, and I think that that's smart. So right now, the best thing is to use some of these apps, or some of these Bitcoin or cryptocurrency exchanges. That's really the best place to do it. They focus very specifically in that, and that's what they're doing. So Coinbase is probably the most widely known. It's a good platform. It's easy to understand, easy to use. Uphold is another really good one. I do a lot of transactions on Uphold, so they have some of the more non-mainstream on their platform. So I like them. I understand it a little bit better, so I will get involved in a little bit more of the riskier ones if they do have good utility. Kraken is a good one to use, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great exchanges out there. It just kind of depends on what you want to get into. Like, do you want to stick with the top 10? If you're sticking with the top 10 and kind of learning how it works, then there's a ton of platforms that are going to have those. Your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Tether, your XRP is just now coming back on the exchange because they won their lawsuit. But Binance, Cardano, Solana, Dogecoin, which there's an interesting history behind Doge. Doge was it was a joke crypto. It just continues to go up in value. People keep buying it. So anyway, but it's got a great system behind it, and people like it. I attend Doge is kind of like how GameStop took off and went crazy, and we all if people are not familiar with that, Doge went just nuts, way over value for what it was, and of course that crashed and burned. But Doge is very similar to that, and some of these coins do get started that way. They're kind of joke cryptos, that somebody creates, but hopefully there's no bad intent behind it, and they tend to do pretty well. So I think there was even a point where Elon Musk was calling Doge a good investment, which is crazy to me. But
I'm going to start to tie things up here. It's almost getting to be an hour in. And I know I had at least one other question. So if anybody else has any burning questions, put them in the chat. There was one. What causes the value to trade up or down with crypto?
Very similar to stock market. Buyer seller, demand, the supply matters. Sentiment, what the news is happening. One of the first things I learned that I really took to heart when I started investing in anything, started in stocks, obviously, but was buy on the rumor, sell on the news. And so crypto is very similar. When something is going to come out, it's going to be good. We're going to see a spike. That's when you see the value start to rise. It's very quick. When something does happen, it tends to react very, very fast. I was actually surprised that XRP saw its huge increase after the news came out. I really thought prior to the ruling that we would see a bigger spike, but it was very reactionary after the fact, which is weird. Usually, crypto is pretty on top of the news, but there's been huge spikes and huge drops in crypto that have nothing at all to do with the news. It's maybe what they call a whale, or like somebody that owns a lot of a crypto, maybe just decides that they're going to move on to something else, and that can have a huge impact. So the impact of small transactions are going to have a bigger impact in crypto than they are in, say, like the stock market, because it's it does have a lot of money in it, but it's not the same level, and there's so many of them out there that buying and selling large amounts can have a huge impact. And again, no regulation, so there's nobody saying, hey, you can't go dump millions and millions of dollars or something and affect the market. So if somebody's just wanting to affect the market and they have that kind of money, they can do that. So it's to me, that's not a good thing. But yeah, I mean, it does happen.
So related to that, if you're describing this as the wild, wild west and unregulated, why would we want to invest in crypto?
I do believe that it will become another one of the payment sources. So I feel like we're moving into a world where cash is really no longer as common as it was when I was a kid. I know a lot of people that only carry cash for tipping. They wouldn't use it to do any kind of transactions. It's purely just, hey, when the valet takes my car, I slip them $5 or $10, or if, whatever happens, like that's what I use it for. But if I'm going to buy something or do something, I'm using a card, credit card, or some kind of transaction that's not monetary. So I do believe it will not necessarily take the place of cash, but I do think that it will become a payment source that becomes more and more valid and more used within the daily market. Like they have crypto ATMs where you can go and take cash out if you need to using your digital wallet. They have apps on your phone where you can exchange instantly with somebody else. I can send crypto to somebody anywhere in the world within, realistically like a second. Whereas if I was going to go to the bank and wire them money, if it's a weekend, it may be a couple of days before they see it. So there is some fast transactions outside of crypto, but crypto is by far the fastest way to transact business out there because of the way that it's validated. So it will become that, but it's risky, and with any large risk, the rewards are generally equal to that. So I think that the cryptocurrencies, and again, I like to stick with the big boys, but if you're going to get into some of these cryptos, is if you have a balanced portfolio and you're not just investing in maybe one that you've seen on Twitter, and you don't know anything about it, I think that you're going to see much better returns than what we're going to see in the stock market. Nothing against the stock market, but like from everything that I've understood and researched lately, I feel like we have a lot of what I would consider overvalued stocks currently in the market, based off of their return or their multiplier. And we have that as well in crypto, but I think there's still a lot of opportunity in the crypto space. And I feel like the potential rewards against the potential risk make it worthwhile. So not something I would say go invest all of your money into crypto, but if you already have a balanced portfolio, and there's been numerous people that have come out and said, hey, 1 to 2% of your investment needs to be in crypto. And again, if you want to stay conservative, I don't think that that's a bad number. I'm significantly above that, but I do think that maybe a 10%, holding of crypto, even if you just want to throw it into Bitcoin, which, for having the value that it has, I know it's high, but knowing that we're, we're 19 mil into a 21 mil, and then it's done. I do think that there's enough upside there, and I think that the value will go up long term, where it's a great holder of wealth. So that's probably the biggest utility for me for Bitcoin, is that holder of wealth, and that increase in value that we're going to see as it becomes less and less. The supply that's available, we get closer and closer to that max.
Okay. And with regards to Bitcoin, do you see that as like possibly the ultimate standard of value, like gold is, or the currency exchange like the dollar?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I really do. I think Bitcoin will become a big indicator of that. Again, BlackRock having the Bitcoin ETF approved, by the government, that's huge news. And I haven't seen it in the news as much as I would have expected to see it. So I think it's one of those things that at some point, somebody that, has more influence than I do is going to say something, and it's going to hit the news, and everybody's going to start talking about it. But it's big. That's a big deal. And so, I do believe that Bitcoin will become kind of the indicator, or the stick upon which other cryptos will be measured. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It's one of the ones that I would say, has the least likely chance of going away anytime soon. Obviously anything can go away. We could, cash could become useless tomorrow. So it's not that it's a guarantee. But I do feel like, Bitcoin is going to be the holder. I think it's the holder of value. I think it's going to be the stick upon which everything else is measured in that space. I'm a strong Bitcoin holder, but and that's not even my biggest holding. Currently XRP is my biggest holding. I don't know that it'll always be that way. But I knew that it had the biggest upside, and knowing that before they won the lawsuit, it was not my biggest holding, but now it is my biggest holding. So it jumped well over some other holdings just from that news of winning that lawsuit.
Okay. All right. I think we got all the general questions. I'm going to leave it on one last fundamental question, and I hope this isn't ignorant, but I guess from a taxability standpoint, trading Bitcoin, is it, without it being regulated, is there even capital, is there like a capital gain with crypto? Is it taxed, or and if so, are the taxes like they are, when we trade stocks?
Yes. So yeah, very similar. It's Form 8949 goes on your 1040 Schedule D. So you do have to, like, the progression was a couple of years ago, the IRS had a little check form, said, hey, were you involved in any crypto? You have to check yes or no. And now they've moved that up where they want to know what you've done. Were you involved in crypto? Were you involved in NFTs? What did you trade? So there's a very specific tax form you have to put on there. If you're not, recording it, you can be hit with those penalties. So I do think this is going to change, but they currently treat it essentially like property. So you cannot do like a 1031 exchange or anything like that. Like, that's not allowed. But it's treated mostly like property for tax purposes. But again, you can get hit with those transactions. You can get hit with those tax on those transactions for every single transaction you do. But if you're doing it inside of, say, like a Roth IRA, which you can do, or if you're doing it inside of an LLC that has the professional purpose of professionally trading, that it's treated more like an inventory, and you're not going to be hit with those penalties or those tax consequences on every single transaction. So yes, the IRS is very aware of it. They want their piece, but I do think that we're going to see more clear-cut regulation and policy and IRS opinions on it as we move forward with crypto.
Well,
All
Bill,
right, great.
and Byron, I want to say on behalf of the chapter, very many thanks for this. In a way, I'm slightly sad that there was a glitch in the weather, but we can't control that. But I think it did one of the things that this group really has wanted to do is have more of a dialogue. And I think that this is really one of the very best examples of how we had a facilitator or a speaker, but had true interaction. And so I want to say a special thanks, because I think we demonstrated with you really, but this session really demonstrated the value of dialoguing and interacting, and that can be extremely profitable, and a lot of people can get the kinds of answers that they want to. And so we appreciate your expertise and you're spending your time with us when I can imagine that there's maybe thunder or lightning or anyhow, bad weather.
Oh, it's the heat. It's the heat. It's 120 something degrees here. So
But it's a
hot.
dry heat, right?
It's exactly. It's a dry
We
heat.
hope you got some air conditioning, but I can imagine that the electricity supply may be compromised.
It is, yeah. So we have a battery bank being installed sometime this year. I mean, hopefully before the end of the year, so I can get the tax credit on it. But yeah, right now we're at the whim of the electrical companies, unfortunately. So
Well, I'll tell you a stock that you might want to look at, which is Generac, which is the company that makes air backup batteries. So anyhow,
Lose
Very,
power. Yeah.
yes, yeah. No, they're fantastic. We had it on we have a Generac generator, whatever you want to call it, at our farm in Tennessee, and it is kicked on multiple times. It's a godsend on a number of those storms in the Tennessee area. So
I won't say everybody in the world needs one, but certainly in the way things are going, more people need them. So that's a company that might continue to grow. I'm not
I
sure I
agree.
want it to need to grow, but I think it might. Anyhow, I think we should call it quits, but we do thank you very, very much. And
Thanks
for
very much, Brian.
people
No,
who
thank you guys for having me.
came in a
Yeah,
little
thank you,
late,
Byron. Again,
welcome.
sorry to bug you on the phone.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Completely fine. Like I said, it got dropped off the calendar, and dealing with the electrical issue is, it is what it is, right? Like we do the best with what we have. So I appreciate you guys being patient with my phone presentation and answering questions. And if there's anything that I missed, if there's a way to get that to me, I'm happy to answer that. And I can send it out in an email or cover it or do a video. Just if there's something I missed and you guys want answers, let me know. Happy to answer it. Sorry I wasn't able to be on a computer so I could see the chat box and answer it, as quickly as I would like to. But if there's anything I can help with, let me know. Happy to do it. Again, CPA, I can't tell you what to do, but I can hopefully advise you and give you suggestions, on where to go with it, because I deal with it, very regularly. So I'm crypto tax certified. So if you have tax questions on your crypto, happy to do that as well.
We thank you, and I think this is a case where unintended situations led to a really good outcome, and I just want to end with that and thank everybody who was here. We do this once a month, and we look forward to people returning. So good night, and have a good rest of the evening.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks. Be well. All right.